At the time, we lived next door to a sweet older woman named Esther and her daughter, who had a mental disability. My younger brother and I loved Esther like an adopted grandmother. She was kind and gentle and always happy to see us. Every afternoon after school, my brother and I would race our bikes down the sidewalk to see who could get to her front door first. The winner didn't really win anything extra. Esther always gave us both a piece of candy from a little dish she kept just inside. Still, we raced every day. It was just what we did. One afternoon, my brother had a Boy Scout meeting after school, and that's when I had an idea. I thought it was a pretty clever idea, actually. I told myself I'd go get his candy for him. I even planned to tell Esther I would deliver it later. But the truth is, I had no intention of doing that. I was 8 years old, and I thought I was being slick. So, as soon as I got home, I dumped my backpack in the living room, ran straight out of the back door, and hopped on my bike. I pedaled hard down the sidewalk, faster than usual, until I reached the small walkway that led to Esther's front porch. I dropped my bike near the steps and walked up. My shoes crunched against that green plastic turf carpet covering the porch, the kind that looks soft but absolutely is not. The screen door was closed, but the wooden door behind it was open. So I knocked. No answer. I could hear the TV on inside, loud enough to be obvious, so I knocked again. Still nothing. Curious, I pressed my face closer to the hard metal screen and peeked inside. I saw Esther's daughter sitting on the end of the couch closest to the door. The TV was on just like I'd heard. She was facing the other end of the living room, away from me. The living room was larger than most because it had been extended into the garage years earlier, and that's the direction she was looking. She was talking. Not to the TV, not to herself. Talking like someone was answering her. I assumed Esther was somewhere in the room where I just couldn't see her. I knocked again and called out, "Esther?" through the screen. Her daughter didn't even flinch. I leaned my head sideways and pressed my cheek against the screen, trying to get a better view of who she was talking to. And that's when I saw him. There was a man hanging from the ceiling. He was middle-aged, wearing old-style mechanic coveralls. A thin cable was looped around his neck and attached to something above him. He was hanging exactly where a ceiling fan should have been. But it wasn't there. His face was purple and distorted. His eyes bulged in a way I still can't quite describe. His body hung limp, slowly turning just slightly back and forth. And Esther's daughter was calmly talking to him as if they were having a normal conversation. For a moment, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. It didn't feel real. It felt like my eyes had made a mistake. Then something clicked. I didn't grab my bike. I didn't even turn around. I just ran. I ran all the way home as fast as I could, through the back door past my mom standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes. She knew instantly that something was wrong. I didn't stop. I crawled under the dining room table and curled up there. That's when I realized I had peed my pants. My mom pulled me out from under the table, thinking I'd been hurt. I was shaking and sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Tears were streaming down my face, and it took her a long time to calm me down enough to speak. Eventually, I forced the words out. "I saw a man hanging in Esther's living room." My mom's face went pale. She hugged me and told me it was just my imagination, that I was a kid and my mind had played a trick on me. But something in her voice didn't match what she was saying. I never went back to Esther's house after that. For weeks, I had nightmares about that man. In my dreams, he wasn't in her living room anymore. He was outside my bedroom window, a dark shape blending into the shadows hanging from a tree outside. It made no sense. My room was on the second floor, far too high for anyone to be there. Every night, I told myself it couldn't be real. A few months later, we moved to the complete other side of town. Slowly, the incident faded into the back of my memory, not gone, but quieter. Fast forward to when I was 15 years old. Two of my friends were sleeping over one weekend. We were sitting around with my mom, laughing and telling funny childhood stories. I had grown up with these two girls. It was one of those warm, easy nights, and suddenly, I remembered that man. I asked my mom if she recalled what happened next door when I was little. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she looked at me, and her expression changed. I remember. She hesitated before continuing, like she was afraid of the words themselves. There was something I never told you about what you saw. I felt a chill run down my spine. The reason I seemed so freaked out that day, she said, was because Esther's husband had killed himself in the mid-1970s. The room went completely quiet. Then she said, he hung himself in the garage. My blood felt like it turned to ice. It was like all the air had been pulled out of the room at once. My mom stood up and said, almost too quickly, on that note, it's getting late. I think it's time for you girls to go to bed. We never talked about it again after that night. But that afternoon, standing on Esther's porch, pressing my face against that metal screen, it's etched into my memory with every horrific detail. And it will never leave me.